Okay, I'm good.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co hosts.
Beth?
And Brian.
So, this week we are going to do a fun game of superlatives and talk about some new exciting stuff that's going to be happening at Walt Disney World. So, let's dive into that news, guys, and get the show rolling. We just had some very big Star Wars information come from the Walt Disney Company's 2019 shareholder meeting. Yeah, lots of stuff about Star Wars. So it looks like we got the dates, the opening dates, May 31st for Disneyland and June 23rd for Walt Disney World.
Which is cool because they made it seem like Disneyland was getting it way ahead of Disney World, and it's really not that different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the other interesting thing that I'm noticing here is that not only will guests need a theme park ticket, but they'll also need a reservation. So I guess that's the way that Disney's trying to like lower their crowd capacity here. Like I guess they're limiting it from like everyone being able to get in to just those that are staying at the Disneyland resorts. Like that's how it looks to me.
You know, I really don't fault them for doing this.
Me either.
Yeah. Like, I know it's a lot of people are going to be really upset if they've already booked a vacation and then they don't get the reservations. But I mean, honestly, if they let everybody in that is trying to go there, everybody's just going to have a miserable time.
Exactly.
Well, the interesting thing about that is obviously we're talking about Disneyland, and them doing that for Disneyland is going to be really interesting because one, the Disneyland resorts are expensive. Like we've talked about that before. So that's going to limit it to the people that can afford to book a 3-day stay or not a 3-day stay, a stay at the Disneyland resorts. But also Disneyland's population is mostly locals. So they're really like shutting those numbers down. I definitely cannot fault them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's so much smaller, like the park itself. So I don't know. You know, I think it's really good for people to already have that expectation of like, I didn't get the reservation, so if I go on this trip, I'm not going to get to experience it, rather than showing up and having to wait 5 hours just to get into the land.
Yeah.
So I actually did a very dumb thing and read this article way wrong. So the land is opening May 31st at Disneyland. But in order to experience it between May 31st and the 23rd of June at Disneyland, guests will need that reservation to get into the land. So that's a big window for people to book reservations on. We're not actually getting Galaxy's Edge until August 29th, which I should have known that was a little off. However, no reservations are going to be required at our version.
I honestly wish they would.
I feel like it's going to be harder for them though, because Disney World has so many like resorts that, I mean, unless you're staying at a deluxe hotel, you can't get in. And then even then I feel like that's more cost limit or more overtly cost limiting than just saying you have to stay on Disneyland property.
I don't understand why they can't do at least when it first opens and the like demand is the highest. Why don't they do something like they do with the pass holder previews, where it's like you sign up and you get this like 3-hour window where only this many people are allowed in, and then you have a bunch of 3-hour windows over a bunch of weeks, you know?
Yeah.
So at least you get to have, because honestly, I would much rather experience Galaxy's Edge the way that I experienced Pandora, and like as the pass holder preview, and having only 3 hours, but getting that tiny, like intimate crowd and not feeling like packed in like sardines.
Definitely.
Than having to kind of, face the music and just accept the fact that I'm going to be waiting in line forever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that would have been the best way for them to do it. But of course, Disney's got other plans for this. So with that, I do also want to say the capacity is going to be limited according to this article, and that Galaxy's Edge is going to be open for extra magic hours. So I think that they're trying to limit it there, but I don't think either of those is going to really do it, because we saw with Pandora that despite capacity issues, Disney was still having lines for people just waiting to get in.
Mhm.
But their other thing that they're trying to do, which I'm not sure I agree with, is that they're going to be rolling out Galaxy's Edge in 2 phases, meaning that when it opens, one of the 2 attractions will be operating, which will be the Millennium Falcon, the Smuggler's Run attraction, and then Rise of the Resistance will open at a later date, but we don't have a time for that yet. So we saw kind of a phase rollout with New Fantasyland, but I still don't think that this is like for this land. I don't think it's appropriate.
I don't like it either. I just have I still have a bad taste in my mouth from New Fantasyland because there was like nothing magical about getting to experience like this one little part of it and then the rest being like construction walls, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, I have nothing but speculation to this point, but I don't feel like this was the plan the whole way along. Like they saw how well Pandora did when you opened it up and it was like boom, you're like thrust into Pandora and you see everything, you can do everything. They know that this is going to be like that even on a bigger scale. I feel like something must have held up Rise of the Resistance for them to do this.
Yeah, I think you're probably right because there's so much like high tech in that ride that they probably just are trying to work out the kinks instead of having the ride go down a bunch, you know?
Yeah.
So my question to you guys, because I don't quite remember this. Great. You guys hear me? Because my
Not really.
What about now?
A little better.
Little better.
What about now?
Perfect.
Okay. So my question to you guys, because I don't know if we've really seen this yet, but do we know what the building for Rise of the Resistance looks like?
I don't think so. I mean, they keep putting out the promotional stuff, but I don't think they actually point out which building is housing which attraction.
Because I have a theory. So looking at the photos, obviously the Millennium Falcon attraction is it's a big piece of the land. It's in the center of the land, and from what we've heard, that's going to be part of the building, correct?
Yes, I think.
So, I think so. My theory is that they were held up on probably both of these attractions, but they had to pick and choose which one would make the land less immersive, and obviously that's going to be the Millennium Falcon, if that's as open as it is. I'm hoping that Rise of the Resistance isn't just in like a building like most of Tomorrowland is, where you could shut the doors and it wouldn't break the immersion. But if that's the case, then I think that that's the best way they could open this, was to either rush the Millennium Falcon ride or Smuggler's Run and hold back the one that's not going to be like construction walls in the middle of the land.
That's a good point.
But I don't know. I still have a very bad taste in my mouth. Like you both said, I don't quite get where they're going with this. Yeah. Do you think that with that being said, there's going to be a lot of people that were excited about Galaxy's Edge that are going to be very disappointed by the fact that there's only one attraction?
Honestly, not that much. I think people that are huge Star Wars fans are going to want to go and do all the other stuff that this land is supposed to offer too. I mean, obviously, I would think they might be a little bit disappointed, but I don't think this is going to sway anyone that was planning on going and excited about Galaxy's Edge not to go.
Plus, I feel like big Star Wars fans are going to want to go more than once anyway. So they're going to be like, oh, darn, now I have to go back and ride the other one.
That's very true. Yeah, I can see that. So also on the notes here, we also got the info that there will be no fast passes for Smuggler's Run available when it opens, which honestly, did anybody expect anything different?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be so crazy already. I think having fast passes there is only going to make it worse.
I mean, that's pretty standard for a new attraction, isn't it?
I know they did it in Pandora, so I think it's going to be...
They did have fast passes?
No, they did not have fast passes to begin with.
That's what I thought.
I completely agree with that, because even now I see it when it gets backed up, people who maybe unknowingly or do it on purpose get in the fast pass line when they don't have fast passes, and like nobody knowing where the line is, like to go to when it's stretched out past the main entrance. I'm completely on board with this.
Yeah, me too.
So also a couple other things. Iger noted in response to a shareholder question that the new lands were developed with special provisions in mind for people with disabilities. Good on Disney. Hopefully they actually managed to do that. I know Kirsten had some Kirsten had some opinions about the height requirements for Smuggler's Run.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's like a new development or if that was something that they had in mind all along. And also with that, in early concept stages of both Galaxy's Edge lands, Iger told Lucasfilms and Imagineers to make sure that they're ambitious. So that to me does not sound good.
I feel like you don't need to tell the Imagineers that, you know?
That's the goal anyway.
It's like, you know how you guys constantly pump out like huge mind-blowing things? It's like, yeah, make sure you do that this time around. Like, I think they know what's at stake here with a land this huge with this big of a following.
Yeah,
right.
But also, like, if it's ambitious, does that mean that it's harder for them to reach that goal? That's what scares me, is like, if he's like, no, it has to be ambitious, like, how close to the actual concept are we getting? I'm very worried about Galaxy's Edge right now, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Then again, I'm not going to see it for the first like year that it's open. I can promise you guys that.
Honestly, I don't know if I will either.
Yeah, same.
I don't think it's smart to. I really don't.
I'm not going to go if I know I'm going to be miserable. Yeah. Like there's no joy in having a trip planned that you know is not going to be ideal. Obviously no trip is probably going to be ideal, but when you have so little control over that type of thing, that just doesn't sound like fun to me.
Yeah, no, that's my whole thing. I don't think that it's going to be enjoyable, and I know that people were like actually enjoying their trips when Pandora opened, but this is a whole nother scale. Like, nobody really cared about Avatar. They wanted to see the immersive land, and that was the theme park nerd in all of us. Now add in people that love Star Wars to the mix, and that's a whole nother thing. Right after all this info came out, the Disney website was down for everyone, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take a lot for the Disney website to go down, but
this is true.
Still, like, that's very terrifying.
I just think it's interesting, like you said, like when Pandora opened, it's like nobody like really cares about Avatar, and a lot of people care about Star Wars. So when Flight of Passage and Na'vi River Journeys waits were 5 and 6 hours on opening day in Pandora, like I just can't wait to see how this goes with a fandom of people that are like extremely hardcore Star Wars fans.
Here's the thing. So, obviously you have Star Wars fans, you have the media and news outlets that are going to be there, you have the theme park nerds that are going to be there. That's 3 large groups of people alone, not counting into the people that maybe have already booked a vacation in that time period and don't quite realize, like, what about that once-in-a-lifetime guest that literally has their Hollywood Studios day on that day?
Yeah, I mean, look at any Disney park on any given day when there's this stuff not going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, obviously, like, this is a big thing, but I'm in New Jersey, and I saw this on the news the other day. Like, I mean, if you're not seeing that information, like, you're clearly not paying attention to much, but, like, it's out there, and I think that, one, everybody is now, like, aware of it, but there are going to be people that aren't, and the people that aren't are going to have a miserable time.
Yeah. I would advise those people to go back and listen to our park planning episode and take the advice of actually doing your research.
Yeah, any of those people are not listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not seeing this news anywhere, then they're not in any sort of position to listen
I
to
don't
a
know.
podcast.
It's very hard for me to feel sympathetic towards people who do absolutely no research or planning for a trip. They just go and hope for the best kind of thing.
You know what?
And that's for anything, not just Disney.
I agree. I agree 100% for that. But here's my thing. I think that doesn't just include people that don't plan. What about the people that like booked through a travel agency and now the travel agent is backed up with calls from people trying to get into Galaxy's Edge, or like obviously that's the TA's job to get them all that information, but like there are different cases that are different from the people that just go online and book a Disney reservation. Like,
well, I have sympathy for them then.
Yeah, I have sympathy for some people, but if you're like not doing any research, then I kind of have maybe a little less sympathy for it. But let's talk about some other stuff that happened during this shareholders call. Bob Iger announced that the acquisition of Fox is basically being finalized in the near future. And in response to a shareholder question, all projects under the Walt Disney Company, new projects, will continue to be developed under. Yeah, so I got to reread that because that was weirdly worded. Basically, everything is still going to be released under the companies that they're planning to be released under, and films will still continue to be developed under Fox, Fox Searchlight, and FX brands. The acquisition doesn't include the purchase of Fox lots, but Disney will have access to those locations through leases. That's kind of interesting. I know we're not a movie podcast, so that doesn't really pertain too much to us, but still interesting. He also talked about the environmental efforts and referenced their new solar facility, which basically will be providing energy to power, or enough energy to power 2 theme parks. We've talked about that before. And I believe, if I heard them correctly, because I did hear that part, they are actually actively using those facilities now. So nice. Disney is really pushing to be green with that one. So the cybersecurity proposal that we talked about a couple weeks ago was discouraged by the board and rejected. So there's the answer to that. I know you guys asked me about that earlier. ESPN, Disney's sports streaming service, has amassed 2 million subscribers in less than a year. Iger says that the services are a good sign of the release of Disney movies and video streaming service Disney Plus. The company will be continuing to invest in direct-to-consumer content and technology. So basically, they tested it, all the details of Disney Plus with ESPN Plus. It was a success on a scale that they really wanted it to be, and now they're really excited about Disney Plus, which is cool because Disney Plus will be showcasing its content on April 11th. This service will be host of both a library of old content and new exclusive content. At some point in the future, Disney Plus will release Disney's entire library of past and present films, according to Iger. That's crazy. That's very crazy. As someone that's lived with the Disney Vault their entire life.
Yes.
That's wild.
It's been within like the last 5 years that I stopped purchasing Blu-rays. And so the idea of this is absolutely wild to me. I'm just like, well, now Blu-rays are going to be totally obsolete because pretty much the only Blu-rays I was buying anyway were Disney.
That's an interesting question. Do you think that will make Disney Blu-rays obsolete? And do you think that will make the Vault entirely obsolete? Because I had this discussion with Matt from Love of the Mouse podcast on Twitter about how I don't think the Vault's going to go away. I think Disney's still going to use the Vault for videos, like direct to DVD stuff, or not direct to DVD stuff, but all the DVD releases and Blu-ray releases. I think they're still going to function with the Vault to push people towards Disney Plus, and then the people that don't have Disney Plus are going to be stuck with the Disney Vault.
So you just think that they're going to do the Vault only for like hard copies of the movies?
Oh, I think so.
But you think that they're not going to do that? Well, I guess they already said they're not doing it for Disney Plus.
Well, at first I thought that they would be doing it for Disney Plus. I thought they would be keeping at least like maybe some extra ones. Like, if Little Mermaid is in the Disney Vault for DVD, it might be on Disney Plus, but there's like 1 or 2 other movies that are in high demand on Disney Plus, only on Disney Plus at this time.
Yeah.
Just to kind of push people in that direction.
I get what you're saying, but I don't think that it'll be worth them keeping the vault. Like, I don't think it's going to push that many people to start using Disney Plus if they continue to do the vault system. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's kind of outdated. I think it's been outdated for a while, and I'm honestly surprised it was around up until this point in the day and age where if you really want to watch a movie, you can go online and find it.
Mhm.
Yeah. To me, it's just crazy because like thinking about it in that sense, Disney has, let's say, I think the last time I looked, it was 57 animated movies, like that they count in their library of animated classics. To stock a store with 57 animated classics in one section, like Disney's going to need their own aisle at some point. And I think that's where the vault's going to come into play because it's like a merchandising thing more than it is like I don't know, like, is it cost effective to put every Disney movie out?
Honestly, I feel like it would be more likely for them to just phase out hard copies entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because honestly, like in this day and age of the cloud, like I don't know many people that actively purchase hard copies of movies or, and I feel like even like in a semi-relevant, I guess, topic, video games for that matter. It's like most what?
I am that person that buys physical media still.
Like I will buy a physical media like every once in a while. Like the Kingdom Hearts Steelbook, just as like from a collector's standpoint, but like as far as just I really want to watch Coco. I'm not going to go buy the Blu-ray. I'm just going to download it and on, Movies Anywhere, and then I can watch it whenever I want on any platform,
Yeah. Hang on 1 second because my recorder is about to die and I don't want to lose the file again. So give me 2 seconds to change the battery out.
Okay. Did we talk about the Epcot Play Pavilion yet?
We did last week.
Bit. Yeah.
We didn't talk about the construction, which they started pretty recently.
I couldn't remember if we mentioned it. I just wanted to make sure. Oh my god, you guys. The comments on this article.
Which one?
The Star Wars, all the Star Wars stuff, the first comment says,
oh, yeah.
certainly exciting news. Happy as a bug in Bantha dung. Are you kidding me?
I read that one. It's a little bit cringy.
Oh my god, that's the cringiest thing I've ever seen.
Oh god.
Oh my god, I don't even know what that means, but I know that it's a Star Wars thing, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sorry, I lost it.
No, you're good. I just got my batteries changed out, so I'm recording again.
No offense, Steve at WI.
So we talked about Disney Plus. Was there anything else we had related to that you guys wanted to talk about before I moved on to the next couple things on here? Cool. So I skipped over a whole section. I'll go back to those. So you also talked about the 3 new cruise ships that are slated for completion over the next few years, and teased a new destination in the Bahamas for the cruise line. That's pretty cool. Certainly exciting to see Disney Cruise Line expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then last couple things that we can touch on. Iger referenced a few new projects coming to the Disney parks around the world, including Epcot Epcot updates, Magic Kingdom's Tron Coaster, the new Marvel Land at Disney California Adventure, a Zootopia Land in Shanghai Disneyland, an increase in Marvel and Frozen presence in Disneyland Paris and Hong Kong Disneyland, Paris's Marvel-themed hotel, and a new hotel slated for Tokyo Disney Sea. Also exciting, but the really interesting thing is that one of the shareholders asked about renovations to Tomorrowland, and Iger didn't have anything to announce, but he did say, quote, in the years ahead, there will be a lot of Tomorrowland activity. So I guess that's good. Disney is keeping Tomorrowland in mind.
I mean, that sounds like a non-answer to me, but okay.
Yeah. I mean,
it's what can I say that's not like conclusive? But will still please people.
Yeah, there was a little bit more than what this article said, if I remember correctly, because I did hear that question. But it is interesting that like they do realize at least that Tomorrowland is a problem.
Yeah.
I think they've realized. I don't think this is news to them, but maybe if there's enough backlash, they'll push to make it the next big expansion.
Yeah. So my other favorite part about these shareholder calls is that Disney gets asked the hard questions, and one of them was that someone asked about the Disney price increases, and if the company is trying to retain its place as an affordable middle-class vacation destination.
Ooh. I want to be friends with that person.
Yeah, they were throwing some serious shade, and I'm here for it. Apparently, their response was to highlight the date-based pricing structure and explain that it would develop making a vacation planning possible for a range of budgets.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so apparently Disney is attempting to manage demand, price accordingly, and preserve the guest experience. I mean, I get it. They're crowded a lot of the time out of the year. But these price increases are for money. That's all they're for.
Yeah, dude, it's just like I have an annual pass and usually stay with my best friend that lives down there and still end up spending like thousands of dollars. Like, how is that affordable? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not.
I also drink a lot, so maybe that's why.
But I mean, honestly, this is gonna go in one ear and out the other to Disney. They're raising prices and continually seeing increased attendance at the same time. Like, I don't think they really give two craps about being a middle-class resort destination anymore if they're still seeing people come when the prices are increased.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't like it either, but I'm just saying, from a business standpoint, nothing's going to change until they start seeing decreased profits.
I feel so trapped. It's like I'm not gonna not go, but I also don't want to support this.
It's like an addict. You just like you're gonna keep coming back for more, no matter how much they're charging.
It's absolutely true.
Yep. There's no way that we're not going to Disney, but here we are talking about it on a podcast.
I even threatened to, cause like the customer relations lady, I was like, I don't get the pass holder emails. The only thing I've ever been invited to that's pass holder related was the Pandora preview. I haven't gotten anything. Maybe I'm not even gonna renew my pass this next time. And I was like, knowing good and well that I was definitely going to renew my pass as I said it. It's like they got us where they want us, guys.
Right. So this last bit of news that we have to talk about, we got a 3D rendering of Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, which is set to open March 31st. Again, I am still not sure of what's going on here. I know we got an animatronic and some screens.
Maybe we should have led with this.
Yeah,
probably. It looks like...
at least from the renderings, it looks like this is literally going to be Lightning McQueen on stage talking to you. It's like great moments with Mr. Lincoln, but with Lightning McQueen instead.
Or
It's Turtle
maybe
Talk.
like Turtle Talk, exactly.
It's Turtle Talk. That's all it is. But with Lightning McQueen, apparently, according to this article, it says there's a 200-foot wide screen that will surround and completely immerse guests in the experience. So apparently, the Imagineers used pre-visualization software to determine or to make sure that each seat gives the audience the same experience. That's kind of cool, but like, what is this? Why won't Disney tell us what this is?
I think they're embarrassed of it.
I honestly, yeah, I think they know that this is like gonna be a B ticket attraction at best, and I think they know this is a placeholder, you know?
Yeah, I feel like this is like a thing to one kind of hold guests over and maybe eat some of the crowd, but it's not really going to do that. Like, I feel like kids are going to see Lightning McQueen on the sign and be like, "Oh, we have to go see that," and then their parents are going to be like, "I wasted 20 minutes of my time on that." But I don't know.
It's basically the Cars version of the Frozen sing along. It's like you go to it once and then you're like, man, if I had known what this was, I would not have wasted my time.
Yeah. So I guess with that said, that wraps up our like 30-minute news discussion. So let's do some superlatives this week, guys.
Woohoo.
Are there any on here that you guys want to lead off with, or do you want to just go in order?
I say just go in order because I wrote down all my notes with them being in order.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So first up on our superlatives, we have newer attraction that Walt would have loved the most. That was a hard one to lead with.
It is, and I'm gonna kind of go out on a limb here and say Midway Mania.
Interesting. What is your reasoning?
I think that Walt would have loved an attraction as immersive as this. And I think he tried really hard to, for it to be something that, anything he put in the park, I felt like he wanted guests to feel like they were a part of it and they were actually in whatever story or whatever he was presenting to them. And like Midway Mania takes that to a point where you really are. You're in it. You're interacting with the ride, with the characters. And I just think that like he would have been blown away. I think that the technology is really cool, but there's a lot of really technologically cool things that open up at Disney all the time. But this is something that like it's past just the technology increase. Like it's a very different type of ride. And like obviously I know there was Buzz Lightyear before this, but I think this takes it a step further. And I really think that this is something that Walt would have really, really enjoyed.
I have one, but I don't know if it's cheating. My answer, even though it's not in Walt Disney World, is Mystic Manor. I think that it might be cheating because it is kind of like their version of Haunted Mansion, but it's an original story. It's an attraction that is definitely like, or was ahead of its time when it came out. And it features a lot of new technology. So very similar to what you were saying, Brian. I think that it was at least ahead of its time when it came out, and it's a very unique attraction that I wouldn't be mad if it came over to the States in some way.
Oh, definitely not.
As long as it doesn't actually replace Haunted Mansion, I would love to see that attraction come over here. I cannot tell you how many times I've watched ride-through videos of that.
Oh, yeah.
You guys both had good answers. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, I really didn't do a whole lot of pre-thinking on these, so mine are kind of going to be off the cuff. For some reason, my mind went to Na'vi River Journey, mostly because of the animatronic, but also because Walt had a thing for boat rides.
Oh,
and
that's good.
That it does feel, I think, very immersive in this like atmosphere of Pandora.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
So next one that we have is most terrifying attraction. Could be past or present.
Space Mountain.
I have
purely from a like survival instinct standpoint.
I feel very strongly about that because I'm like, ever since I've seen ride through videos of Space Mountain with the lights on, I've always been like afraid that I'm gonna hit my head on something. even though I know that that's not possible. But my instinct here is to go with Snow White's Scary Adventure.
That was a very
I
close second for me.
I personally like I was afraid to go on this attraction when I was younger. Like I remember it being in Fantasyland and like up until they took it out, I was like, no, I don't want to go on this at all. And like that was fairly recent too. But yeah, there was something about the way that this ride was presented, something about the way that the animatronics like interacted with you is just weird. The fact that you were Snow White in this story originally is also bizarre. Like there's a lot of very strange things about this attraction to me.
I remember, obviously as a kid, like I found it scary and everything. And I was thinking back, it's like, it's probably one of those things. It was just scary because you were a kid. And I watched a ride through video this recently and I was like, no, that was terrifying. How did they let this attraction be made?
And how is it so early in the park's history too?
I know.
Oh.
And the thing that gets me is that when you look at most of the rides that are tied to an IP, especially movies and stuff, it's like they try to do a good job of like telling the story of that movie in condensed attraction form. But it's like Snow White Scary Adventures was like, let's just take the most terrifying portions out of it, and even stuff that wasn't in the movie that's just scary, and put it in there.
Yeah.
My answer to this though is extraterrestrial.
I knew it.
Yeah, I just still don't really understand the think. I mean, I understand the thinking behind this. They were trying to get more teenager appropriate attractions in the parks, but I think putting this in the Magic Kingdom was not a good idea. But regardless, it was definitely a terrifying attraction. I have distinct memories of going on this as a kid and being absolutely terrified.
I'm going to agree with you because I vaguely remember it, but feel like I repressed most of it because I was 6 years old when I wrote it. So I'm going to say that's probably a sign that it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Like not only just the like the animatronic and the stuff happening in the ride, but like there was something about like being strapped in, like when the thing comes down over you, like you're I don't know, it was just something about that was extra scary.
What's like super weird to me, aside from like the entire story of this attraction and how it came to be, the fact that Disney was like, oh, this is terrifying, let's just replace the animatronic with something cute.
Yeah.
Like the concept is still the same, and it's like, even as someone that likes Stitch, if I was a young kid and I rode that, I'd be terrified.
Oh yeah.
Actually, even more terrified because this is a cute character that I saw in a cute cartoon. Like, I don't know. There's just something weird about that to me. Next up, we have best drop in a Disney attraction.
I feel like there's only one real answer for this.
What is your one real answer?
I mean, Tower of Terror.
That's a good one. That was not mine either. What's yours, Brian?
I gotta say Splash Mountain.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. All right, this may not be the best drop because it's definitely like not really a thrilling drop, but I like the Haunted Mansions drop just because of how
you're a curveball in there.
Yeah, so I like how, I mean, it is technically a drop because you do go downhill. Granted, most of the time you get stuck on said hill. But
I was about to say, personally, I hate that drop because I always get stuck and it hurts my head because I'm like my entire body weight is backwards.
Yeah, I always I feel like any attraction that I've ever gotten stuck on like a numerous amount of times, it's always Haunted Mansion and it's always this one spot. But I think that in terms of like tying in with the actual attraction and like the scene setting and everything, this is the one that does it the best because in a way, yes, you are kind of like, if there is story element to it where you're being thrown out of the window and all that stuff. But even putting that aside, the way that they do this drop and the way that it incorporates with how you see the animatronics and everything going ahead of you, I think that that's really good, like scene setting and storytelling.
That was a very well thought out answer there.
I thought about this all day. I put that in there and I was like, I need to think about that, because originally my thought was Splash Mountain. I was like, yeah, there's hands down, that's the best drop ever. And I was like, let me keep thinking, because someone else is gonna say that. Next one we have is most relaxing location on property, but not an attraction.
My brain jumped to Tom Sawyer Island when I read this one.
I would count that, because I mean, even though it is an attraction, that's not like a ride.
It's not. I would say it's more of a land.
Yeah, it's
than
a
an
land
attraction.
to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead. Unless you had to think.
I said Fort Wilderness.
That's a good one. I like that one.
I know that's kind of a big area to choose and not very specific, but like I always thought about the most relaxing part of it was being able to just kind of, very similar to Tom Sawyer Island, just be able to go around and explore and like check things out. So
mine, I mean, I'm surprised no one said the hub grass, but that's not mine. Mine is
relaxing.
I mean, I feel like we've all talked about that and it being like a cool place to sit and hang out, and maybe it's because Kirsten's not here. But my favorite relaxing location is the Morocco Pavilion in World Showcase.
Oh, that's a good one.
I feel like there's never anyone really in there. There's a lot of places to walk around and a lot of cool things to see. And even between like the stores and stuff that are in there, it's cool to walk around because there's like different things to look at, and it's just a lot of places to just sit, hang out, and there's a lot of shade too.
Yeah. Plus the architecture is so amazing.
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite pavilions in World Showcase.
It's also like that I really like that, like, I don't know what it's called, but the little cultural museum type of place in Morocco. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Which
exactly
I feel like most people don't even know about that because they just walk right past it.
Yeah.
Honestly, any of those little things, like museum type of places in the pavilions, are like almost always completely empty when I go.
You know, I'm going to disagree with that just because the one that comes to mind immediately when you said that was Norway. And
that one's always empty when I go in it.
Ever since they reverted it to Frozen stuff, it has not been empty for me.
It certainly has for me. Maybe I just go at the right time.
You must get lucky because I am definitely agreeing with Mario on this one.
I feel like most people don't even realize you can go in there.
There's Frozen merchandise. People will find a way.
But I will say that it is hard to get into. Like, I will agree that it is probably like a weird entrance for people to figure out. But ever since Norway got like a major Frozen overhaul, there's been a lot of people in there. Like, I would have said Norway was my favorite pavilion previously to all this Frozen stuff because, you know, I can get a school bread and just hang out. Like, that would have been the best thing. But ever since that, like, there's people in there. People are getting off of Frozen Ever After. They're wandering through the pavilion. And then, like, you know, Kringla Bakery's been crowded, and so has the little Norway exhibit that's now Frozen. Like, it's insane.
Well, it's not Frozen anymore. They've changed that recently.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually, now it's about, like, the gods of, like, Norwegian lore and stuff, like Thor and Loki and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely enjoy it a lot more now.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out when I go there next time.
Although I did like reading about the fashion.
So next up, we've got most well-rounded attraction. No one wants to go first.
I had something else written down, but I've actually changed my mind since then. I'm gonna go with Expedition Everest.
It's a good one.
I think that it pretty much ticks all the boxes for stuff if you're a Disney fan or a just a theme park fan in general. I mean, it's a thrill ride. You've got an excellent queue, excellent storytelling, just really immersive. And there's a lot of really great rides like that at Disney, but I think this one just checks all of that.
I think the same could be said for Tower of Terror too, because
Yeah.
immediately my mind is drawn to that. Weirdly enough, I have to disagree with this question entirely, even though I wrote it in here, because I don't think there is a perfectly rounded attraction. Because the only thing that kills me about Expedition Everest is that the Yeti is a statue.
That's true.
And not even like because
Wait, it's a statue? I totally thought it moved because of the strobe lights.
for a second I thought you were serious, Beth, and I was about to reach to this computer and fight you. Well, no, like, even not taking into account that it is an animatronic that's just not moving. Like, I think that not having an animatronic on the attraction kind of hurts it a little bit. And
I definitely agree with that. Like, if this was pre-Disco Yeti, then you also get to check the box of like incredible animatronics. So
yeah,
that's definitely its fault.
Right, and that's, I mean, I think I actually tend to agree with you on Expedition Everest, simply because the way that they covered it up is probably the best way that they could have done that. Like, to some guests, it definitely still looks like it moves, and that's good. That's good Disney magic covering it up. I mean, to us, obviously, it's not, because we've been on it and we know it doesn't. But like, I think that's the reason I can't vote Tower of Terror in for this. Like, it checks all the same boxes that you had, but there was never an animatronic here. So I think I agree with you 100% on that, and I'm going to put my vote in for Expedition Everest too.
Nice.
I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. I do think the theming for Everest is incredible all the way around, aside from the obvious, already mentioned things.
Well, so my question, because when I originally wrote this question and put most well-rounded attraction, I was thinking in terms of Disney, and I was thinking like, what checks the, like, this is a Disney attraction to me, and immediately I was drawn to like Splash Mountain, It's a Small World, Haunted Mansion, Pirates, like all of that. And to me, Pirates was actually the one that I was going to go with originally, because I think that perfectly ticks all of the boxes. Like, it does have a mini drop, if you can even count that. The effects are still really cool, and it's immersive theming to the point that like that room is giant. Like, you feel like you're in the scenes, even though you're riding a boat through a stage building. Like, I thought that checked all of the boxes. What was your original idea, Brian?
I was thinking Haunted Mansion, and as like a Disney fan or myself, I mean, it's obviously my favorite attraction, and I think it's most really big Disney fans' favorite attraction. But at the same time, I was trying to think of this as like well-rounded. I got to think for everybody, and I think if you're going to a theme park, for it to really be well-rounded for the most number of people to enjoy it, it needs to be a thrill ride too.
Yeah, and I think you sold me on that. That's kind of funny. So since we all agree, the next one that we have on here is the most polarizing attraction. You know what? I don't know if this is just me thinking about it in this way, but I'm going to say I've got two in mind right now, and you're both going to hate me for saying this, but I have to say the TTA, because to people like us, we love it. It's a great attraction. But to the average guest that sees it just moving through Tomorrowland, they're like, what the heck is that, and why is it there?
They're wrong, but...
That's a good point. I've heard multiple people getting off like at the same time I did. And they're like, what was that? I thought this was a ride. So
I feel like it's kind of elusive, though, because so many people don't understand how to get to it. So it's like this big mystery to people who, newbies to the parks, which is, I think, hilarious.
I'm going to save my other one because I don't want to step on anyone's toes if they pick it, but you guys go ahead.
As far as, like, you either love it or you hate it, and like there's really not any in between, I feel like Small World would be my pick.
That's my pick.
That was mine too.
It's just like I feel like especially as a Disney fan, you either love it or you hate it, but even if you hate it, you still appreciate it for what it is, but you still don't want to ride it except maybe like every 5th trip.
Yeah.
You know? Honestly, I don't even want to ride it that often. But
I honestly, I haven't ridden it in 3 years. And that's crazy because I've probably been to Magic Kingdom like 30 times in the past 3 years. So
yeah, I don't remember the last time I rode it either. I'm glad Kirsten's not on this episode.
I can say the last time I rode it was 2000 and it was 4 or 5 years ago, so 2014, it was 2014. That was the last time I rode it.
I just like I said, I appreciate it for what it is and for what it stands for, but I get like the song loops like twice and I'm already so over it, and I'm like I still have like 15 minutes of this.
There is a playlist on Spotify of Disney attraction music, and every time It's a Small World comes on, I immediately skip it. Like the first note plays, and I'm like, nope, not listening to that. So next up, we have restaurant with the best view. Now, I didn't put this one in here. I'm guessing you put this in here, Brian. Are you talking about like view of the restaurant, like best looking, or like best view outside into the park?
I say pick whatever you want. If the
hard.
restaurant view is what you want to look at, then go for that.
Well, I've never actually eaten here, but I'm going to say Coral Reef because I've seen it from the other side and it was really cool.
It's a good one. I've never eaten there either.
This is hard because I want to take it in like 6 different ways, but you know what? I can't even say the one I was going to say because originally I wanted to say Portobello because the first time that my girlfriend and I went to Disney, we ended up in Disney Springs one night. We hadn't eaten dinner and we just walked up. We got, seated pretty quickly and they sat us right along the water in Disney Springs. And that was a really pretty view. But Portobello is not Portobello anymore, and I don't know if they've changed that. So I can't say that. I gotta think. If you've got one, Brian, go right ahead.
So when I thought up of this question, it was weird. Like my mind instantly, like I was thinking about restaurants and thinking, how could I make a question around a restaurant? And my favorite restaurant is Ohana. And I was like, what do I like about it? And I was like, oh, the view. Like I love sitting out there. Like if you're lucky enough to get a seat by the window, like it's great. You get to look out over the lagoon and the pool, and you can even see the castle in the distance. So that was like my knee-jerk reaction. But then when I actually started like thinking about it, I was like, you know what? It's hard to give it to anything other than Sanaa, because if you get a seat near the windows and like the animals are out there, I mean they can literally be inches away from you next to the glass, which is incredible to me. So that's gonna be my pick.
Yeah, that's a really good one too. You know what? I have 2 ways I really want to take this. So I'm gonna take it from a different way, and I'm gonna say Katsura Grill in Epcot. If you get a good view from there, you can see all of the like illuminations. Oh wait, no, I'm actually thinking about the wrong spot. I'm trying to find like what is the sushi restaurant in Epcot? Because I know there's Tapenito, which is the hibachi, but there's like a sushi side to that that's a different restaurant. You know what? If I can't remember, I'm not going to go with it. That's fair, I think. And since I've looked it up, it's Tokyo Dining.
What a creative name.
Yeah, of course. That's why I couldn't remember it. Wow. Yeah, I'll still stick with that. My pick is Tokyo Dining. And And if you're lucky enough to get it around the time of illuminations, it's right off of the water, and you have a perfect view of the arch in the Japan Pavilion, like right there. So you get good seating for illuminations. You can see the fireworks very clear. You can see everything going on in World Showcase Lagoon, and I think that's a really good view. I might be biased because I really like illuminations, but yeah.
Nice.
Good pick.
Bonus round, Disneyland, the
Oh,
Blue
no.
Bayou.
You know, my like initial reaction was almost Village House, because you could see it's a small world, and I was like, that's really not a good view.
Yeah.
So after that,
Or, well, on that
Go ahead.
point, Cantina is not a bad one either.
I haven't seen the view from there, so I can't comment on that.
Oh, not the Cantina. San
You're
Angel, the restaurant.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
across.
Actually,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good view. I will say I'm gonna argue for that one for a minute, because I think that's a little bit underrated. The food there is not great.
No.
But the food there isn't great by any means, but the view is like, I really wish the food was better, because there's not a bad seat in there for a view.
And the view is always the same, so it's like you never have to worry about the weather, or if something's going on at that time. It's always good.
Yeah. So next up, we've got funniest moment in an attraction.
All of Country Bears.
Oh, Country Bear's mine too.
Wow. I thought you guys were going to take a minute. I don't know. See, my initial response is to go with like funniest moment in like a bad way.
That's what I
did. Well, my immediate response was the hippo on Small World.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good.
You know what? I'm going to stay with that, because I can't think, like, there are
The
moments
hippo is
that make-
iconic.
Yeah, there's like,
Iconic.
Iconic.
that is horrible.
I didn't even mean it.
Well, like
Of course, Brian realized that there was a pun in there.
Of course. My initial response, though, was like Jungle Cruise, but then like I can't pick a moment from Jungle Cruise, because like that's so dependent on the skipper.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm gonna
true.
stay with the hippo from It's a Small World.
That's a good
Beth,
one.
did you have a specific point in Country Bear?
When she comes out of the ceiling.
That's mine too.
Oh my gosh, I lost it.
Oh man, I always love it because it's so funny. I think my wife goes just to shut me
Appease
up.
you.
Yeah, but it's like every time I'm getting so excited that it's coming up, and like even people's first time, it's like they laugh too, and like I laugh even after seeing it like 50 times. But it's like, yeah, I don't know who couldn't find that funny.
Love it.
Oh boy. So I guess with that said, we have to do the next round of our March Magic.
Oh boy.
Here
My heart
comes the
can't
fun
take
part, where we're all gonna hate each other by the end of this.
Oof.
For those listeners that missed last week's episode, we have in the first round Festival of the Lion King versus Muppet Vision 3D.
Collective sigh.
I'm taking the initiative and throwing the first vote out. I'm going Muppet Vision.
I'm going Muppet Vision too.
Honestly, I this is a tough one, but I am gonna say Muppet Vision, because I feel like it's unique as an attraction. Like, Festival of the Lion King is really good, but it's also like, it feels like a Broadway show that you could kind of see anywhere, as long as it was Lion King themed. But I don't know. Yeah.
And here's the thing about Muppet Vision. That was one of Jim Henson's last works.
Yeah.
So next round we have the Maharaja Jungle Trek versus Mission Space. These first two rounds were super easy for me, and I'm going Mission Space for this one.
I'm gonna shock you guys and also say Mission Space.
Wow.
those G-forces, man.
Man, I would have gone Jungle Trek on this one. For those keeping record, Beth is just tearing Animal Kingdom apart in this
Oh my
bracket.
gosh.
You
Everyone
really are.
knows it's my baby, but
Have you voted for anything in Animal Kingdom on this yet?
Flight of Passage. Finding Nemo the musical and Wilderness Explorers.
Okay.
I'm not
Actually-
that bad of a track record.
I think she did vote for the Jungle Trek in the last round because I was the one that voted for Star Tours.
Okay.
So
See, there we go.
Oof. Okay. All right, guys. I'm sorry for this one, but Living with the Land versus the Jungle Cruise.
I quit.
I'm gonna go Jungle Cruise.
I'm going Living with the Land on this
Oh
one.
my god, no. You guys, why?
One, because it's fun to make you choose, but
No, it's not.
this was a hard one. I will give
It
you.
was
both
very
that.
hard.
I'm struggling with it a lot, but I gotta go Living with the Land.
Nice.
You know what? I'm not even upset about that. I wanted Jungle Cruise to go on, but I cannot be upset about that.
I
It does
love
hurt.
Jungle Cruise so much. It does hurt, but Living with the Land is just so unique and cool.
This next one, I'm very, very surprised these two are still in it.
I think the best part of this bracket is that some things have just matched up against some really good stuff, and it's going to be interesting to see how they proceed in the next couple rounds. This one is very much that one. So, Wilderness Explorers versus Finding Nemo the musical. I'm going Finding Nemo.
I'm going Wilderness Explorers.
Making Brian choose now.
This is tough, and like not for the same reasons as the one before. Like I enjoy both of these a lot, but not to the same extent. Like I feel it in my heart with Living with the Land and Jungle Cruise. But I'm gonna say Finding Nemo on this one.
Yeah. You know what? This is my confession. I listen to the soundtrack for Finding Nemo to the musical all the time.
It's
really good.
Oh, all right. Here's another one that you're gonna feel in your heart: Haunted Mansion versus Splash Mountain.
It hurts, but it's not a hard decision for me.
Yeah, Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion. Expedition Everest versus Tower of Terror. This one is
rude.
hard.
This is very rude.
And you know the funny thing is I literally was just talking about this in our superlatives. I have to go Tower of Terror. The entire ride is functional.
Oh wow. That's a good valid point there.
I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go Tower of Terror. If this is just straight up like which one do I enjoy riding more, I enjoy Tower of Terror more.
And that hurts so bad because like I do genuinely enjoy riding Expedition Everest a whole lot.
I was about to say, interestingly enough, I think that I actually enjoy riding Everest more, but Tower of Terror I think is a better ride overall, so I'm gonna agree with you guys.
Surprised we all agreed on that one.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how this round is shaking out. So Kilimanjaro Safaris versus Carousel of Progress.
This is also very rude.
I'm gonna surprise you guys and say Safari.
That's not surprising. I agree.
Me too.
You know,
painfully.
I thought that would be more surprising to you guys because I have fought for Carousel of Progress on this show a lot.
It's great. I love it, but I mean, Kilimanjaro Safaris is like half of the reason people go to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. And without it, that park is very, very empty.
Yeah.
This next one hurts me a lot. Pirates of the Caribbean versus Flight of Passage.
Flight of Passage.
I'm going Pirates.
I'm agreeing. I'm going Pirates. I love Flight of Passage, but I also question in 50 years is Flight of Passage still going to be around? I don't think so. I can honestly still see Pirates being around then.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I like that logic. I think to me it came down to the fact that I know this is kind of to your point, but in a different degree. With Pirates of the Caribbean, that's an attraction that stood the test of time already. And yeah, it's received updates and everything, but moving forward, I feel like even with some of the stuff that maybe we'll see in Galaxy's Edge down the line, the Flight of Passage technology is probably going to be, used in a much more, different degree. I remember when Flight of Passage was a thing that we were talking about for like previews and stuff, and everybody was kind of worried initially that it was going to be a lot like Soarin'. And I mean, obviously, I haven't had the chance to go on it yet, but I think that it used technology from other attractions and made it new. And moving forward, that's what we're going to see a lot more of with these attractions. But Pirates, it's just been a classic.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's unfortunate in a way, because I completely agree with you guys that, practical effects are always like age better than digital. And I think that that is definitely likely to be the case in the future. So unless they keep updating the technology, then I feel like a lot of these rides are going to fall to the wayside.
Yeah. So real quick, end of round recap for our listeners at home. It looks like we've got Muppet Vision 3D versus Mission Space, Living with the Land versus Finding Nemo, Haunted Mansion versus Tower of Terror, Kilimanjaro Safari versus Pirates of the Caribbean. That's where we have settled for this next bracket of Disney March Magic. And I think this is going to be a very hard one, especially if Kirsten comes back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, boy. So I'm good to wrap this up since we've gone over an hour.
Yeah.
You guys didn't want to read those reviews?
Oh.
Or that we got?
Or
whatever.
I say we just save them.
Okay. That's fine.